Welcome to GIS Applications in Fire Ecology and Management. Although this class is online, Lita Kobziar and I, Heather Heward, would like to make it as engaging as possible. What we ask in return is that you be engaged. The course content is based on current knowledge and processes. We hope that what you learn here will allow you to perform not only the exact processes demonstrated in the material, but also apply those same principles to other projects. Let's start with a look at the big picture. Fire is literally and figuratively a very hot topic. It's affecting human and natural resources at what seems to be an alarming rate. With increased public awareness of fire comes an increased pressure and importance to 1. Accurately represent the positive work that's being done, and 2. Make sure that the work that's being done is positive. As stated by Goldberg et al. In 2001, globally, fire management is in transition. We know that the removal of fire from an ecosystem may make these systems vulnerable to insects and disease, and that fire will return to suppressed systems. When those fires return, they'll be harder to suppress and put firefighters, the public, and our natural resources at risk. Since 2001, this has proven to be all but too true. Goldberg et al. Go on to suggest the need to balance fire suppression with planned restoration of fire into the ecosystem, which will shape the course of wildland fire management in the foreseeable future. In a recent issue of Fire Management Today, Tom Harbour, the Director of Fire and Aviation Management for the Forest Service, describes what it means to be a citizen of fire. He proposes that there are several steps on the road to becoming an active citizen of fire. Determine the issues, figure out what's not working, propose solutions, share what you know, make informed decisions, and take appropriate action. This same sequence can be applied to many, if not all, of the challenges that we face in life, at the large or small scale. As a whole, the intention of this class is to enable you to perform these steps in relation to geospatial questions that need to be addressed in your sphere of work. Wildland fire is inherently reliant on GIS, and a skill set in this area will greatly increase your ability to contribute to the bigger picture of fire ecology and management. As you've already discovered, the content for this course is located on BB Learn, also known as Blackboard. If you have questions regarding BB Learn, please refer to the BB Learn help area located in the upper right-hand corner of the course's webpage. Please take a moment to review the material on BB Learn so you can easily find information about the class and reduce the chances of missing important details. Some coursework may not be available until it is assigned. You're allowed to work ahead, and in fact it's encouraged, especially after Lab 1 since it's a little on the shorter side. Each lesson in this class introduces you to the types of ecological or management objectives that can be addressed with GIS, and along the way, you will be exposed to various processes that can be applied to any number of different objectives. Examples of ecological or management objectives that you'll be working on in this class are update land fire data layers to reflect measured conditions on the ground, compare the potential fire behavior for different fuel treatments, and classify the burn severity across a landscape after a fire. Examples of processes that are used to accomplish these objectives are convert polygon to raster, combine rasters, edit attribute tables, join and relate attribute tables. Notice that the processes are just a means to complete the objectives. The learning outcomes for this class are as follows. Become familiar with common ways that GIS can be used in fire ecology and management. Practice using GIS processes that can be applied to many other ecological or management objectives. Become familiar with multiple sources of spatial data layers. Apply GIS tools and data sources to an independent project. All in all, this class will introduce common objectives and processes in such a way that you will be able to apply that information to any number of other scenarios in your own work. Lessons are composed of a lecture, reading, lab, reflection question blog, and a discussion. Lectures, as you can see, are PowerPoint presentations with associated notes. Readings are meant to emphasize and elaborate on material presented in the lecture and lab. It's very important for you to review all the material in a lesson before and after completing your work to ensure you don't miss anything. You will have 1 week to complete each lesson. Since classes started on a Wednesday, that is always the beginning of the week, making all work due on Tuesday night at 11:59 p.m. All work must be done independently. You must turn in your own maps unless otherwise indicated. Please do not cheat or let others cheat off of you. Labs can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours depending on your skill level and the length of the lab. For this reason, it's very important for you to review the labs right away to determine how much time you will need to devote to the lab. You'll be able to get some estimates of time based on the length of the lab demo. A good general rule is that it will take you about 2 to 3 times longer for you to complete the lab. Labs are intended to build on one another, meaning that directions described in one lab will only be referred to in future labs. It's a good idea to take notes on various processes performed so that you can have a quick reference for where to find specific directions for future labs. Reviewing the demo will be an important step in completing the lab correctly and will give useful tips in navigating an ArcMap and other programs. Remember, the purpose of the lab is for you to internalize the objectives and processes being performed, so try and avoid rote repetition of the demos without understanding the concepts. If there are differences between the demo and what you're seeing on your computer, try and find your own workarounds if possible, or post to the discussion board if you need additional help. After you've completed the lab, you will need to submit your work. Depending on the lab, you may be asked to answer lab questions with numbers you generated from the lab, submit screen captures of your work, or submit an exported JPEG map, complete with required map elements. Due to this variation from lab to lab, it again will be important for you to review the lab requirements carefully before submitting. Keep an eye out for the reflection question image in the upper left-hand corner of lectures, next to the reading link on BB Learn, or in the lab. This indicates that there is a reflection question nearby. These questions are intended to 1. Encourage you to read the material, and 2. Encourage you to think more broadly about topics being presented. Since you could review the material over the space of a week, it will be important to take notes on reflection questions while reviewing the material. A list of questions is available on the Reflection Question blog. Refer to this area prior to starting the lesson so that you can know what to be thinking about throughout. When you've completed the lesson material, place your responses on the Reflection Question blog for your fellow classmates to read and comment on, and for us to grade. Discussion boards are available in each lesson as a resource for you to ask questions and find answers. You're not required to participate in discussion boards, but this is the preferred location to bring up any challenges you're facing or special tricks that worked for you that might benefit other people. Instead of an emailed question, a question posted to the discussion board will allow other students to see the experiences that you're having and have them read the responses given by the instructors or TA. Before posting a question, please review any existing questions to see if it's already been addressed. Here are some examples of possible discussion questions. Questions on material presented in the lecture, further desired knowledge on the topic covered in the lecture, questions on how to perform the steps in the lab, tips that you discovered while performing the lab, and general feedback or insight that you gained from the lecture or lab. Up to 20 points of extra credit is available to those that actively participate in question answering and generally useful discussion on the boards. Throughout this course, you'll be introduced to examples of how GIS can be used to solve problems and answer questions in natural resource applications, in fire ecology and management in particular. The final project will give you an opportunity to apply what you've learned in this class to a GIS analysis application of your own, using self-selected data or class data. You'll be required to submit a project proposal halfway through the semester to begin thinking about your project and your potential data sources. The project will be submitted in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. Since you'll not be able to present your work to the class in person, you'll type the text into the notes section and record your presentation using the recording ability of PowerPoint. Let's recap what we've covered so far with an example of the basic steps you would take to complete a lesson during a week. Wednesday, preview the lesson objectives and overall content, reflection question blog, and lab handout and demo. Thursday, read through the lesson and reading, take notes on any reflection questions. Friday to Sunday, start the lab while following along with the demo. Monday, turn in your lab questions, lab outputs, and reflection questions. And Tuesday, make sure that what you've turned in is everything you need. Check the discussion board and see if you can help others. Now that you have an idea of how the course is organized, and at least generally what's expected of you, let's talk a little about how to get the most out of this course. Working with GIS can be challenging, so let's prepare you with some mental and physical tools to face up to the challenge. GIS, specifically ArcMap, can be likened to a garage, full of useful tools to do all sorts of projects. The potential is great, but there are some important steps that need to be taken before the projects can begin. You have to know what is in there and where to find it. When first starting to work in GIS, you do not know what the possibilities are or where any of the tools are. Also, if you have once possessed a knowledge of the location and function of the tools, over time a lack of use will make them hard to find. This class will start the process of exploring the potential of ArcMap and will serve as a starting place for you to go from. To continue on with the shop analogy, let's say you obtained a nice table saw. All you really need it for at the moment is for cutting off small pieces of wood, which you learned how to do without any training. Aside from being dangerous, without further training, you'll never experience the many other uses of your table saw, and miss out on lots of great projects you could do on your own. In this example, this class might be compared to a shop teacher. Lessons in this class, just like in a shop, are designed to create a final project, like a birdhouse. But more importantly, each lesson is selected to teach you a different function of your tool. Lessons also increase in complexity as your skill increases, and steps in later lessons incorporate skills learned earlier. After completion of this course, not only will you have lots of cool-looking output, and more useful than a birdhouse, but you will also have the skills and abilities to perform any number of related projects. A utilized lab book can be your best friend when working with GIS. It's easy to think that because you've performed a step 20 times, that when you go back to do it again 3 months later, or even 3 weeks later, that you'll remember how to do it. The fact is that most people don't inherently retain the detailed steps needed to perform the many various functions available in ArcMap or other programs. This is a picture of my lab book that I used while completing my master's. Each entry should have a date and perhaps a topic. Use your notebook to record interesting information from the lessons and readings, steps taken to perform certain functions, or at least where to find those steps. The reality is that everyone has a different way to stay organized, but we encourage you to try out a lab book or something similar. Start with adding a healthy amount of detail, just as an experiment to see how this affects your retention of the material and your ability to find what you're looking for from previous lessons. Through the power of the internet, you can find many different help forums, videos, tutorials, or even short courses. Esri has a library of training material, which can be a great resource for learning new skills or brushing up on the old ones. If you're concerned with your GIS skills for this class, it may be a good idea to go through some of the tutorials created by Esri on getting started in ArcMap. YouTube and Google can also be a good source for finding video tutorials. The quality might not be as consistent, but in searching for one specific topic, you may get exposed to many other tools or functions in Arc. When you receive an error message, try searching the exact language of the message to find workaround solutions. Online forums can be especially helpful in this area. When asked to submit an image of your work, the snipping tool is a great alternative to screen captures. It's higher quality and you're able to select a more specific location. The snipping tool can be located by typing "snipping tool" into your Start menu search bar. The web is a great resource if you need help doing this or for finding other tools that do the same thing. It's now time to begin Lab 1. For this lab, you'll be downloading the data for the class and creating an incident map. The purpose of this lab is to just give you a chance to refresh your ArcMap skills and give us a chance to understand the skill level in the class. If you have not already done so, you will need to gain access to ArcMap with directions on BB Learn.